Hello and welcome to the final whistle with me, Daniel Waterson, looking back at Friday night's 1-1 draw with St Johnstone at McDermott Park. In this episode, James, Danny Galbraith and myself discuss the match, and there's post-match reaction from Lennon and Cammy. But first, let's remind ourselves of the action with Hibs TV's Pike and Danny Galbraith.
Just a little bit more responsibility, Danny, on Scott Allen and John McGinn. I'll come back to you in a second on that. Allen plays the ball towards the back post. What a fine finish! And it's Effie Ambrose that scores. Lovely cross into the box by Scott Allen. Effie Ambrose rising unchallenged at the edge of the 6-yard box, nods the ball down into the bottom left-hand corner of the net. And in just the second minute of the match, Hibs have the lead, and Effie's going to give us the acrobatics as well to go with it. There we are. Fabulous start from Hibs' point of view. I was about to say, Danny, that maybe without Dylan McGeoch, a wee bit more onus on Scott Allen and John McGinn tonight for the creativity, because Marvin Bartley isn't quite as creative a player as Dylan McGeoch is, and Scott Allen then does that with a cross.
Well, it was a beautiful bit of skill beforehand, just to throw the defender with a step over, left him for dead, and a great cross with his left foot. I don't know what the marking was like in the box. He seemed very free, but he made no mistake. A great header, and what a start.
Certainly was. Good finish from Effie Ambrose, but as Danny says, a lovely bit of skill from Scott Allen out the far touchline. Perfectly flighted cross, and Effie Ambrose really just needed to nod good morning to that one. Two former Hibs men linking up there in midfield for the home side. Kane plays the ball into the feet of Johnston. It's threaded through, good block. Williams, can he get the shot away? Chance here for St Johnstone. Shot comes in, it's in the back of the net, and Hibs can't hold out, Danny, despite a valiant effort. It was played through there. I didn't see who it was that got the final touch on it, and despite a despairing effort by Cammy Bell, St Johnstone are level with some 7 minutes remaining.
Yeah, Hibs have held out, but it's hardly been a backs to the wall job, I would say. Chris Kane it is that got the final touch. And, they worked it well, to be honest, initially, but it's fell nicely in a bit of a reaction sort of finish, and just out of reach of Cammy Bell. That's a bitter blow, really.
It is, yeah.
I want to say we're in the warmth, but we're not really. It's still freezing at McDermott Park. Hibs have held on to a 1-1 draw after playing about 75 minutes of the match with 10 men after Offio Marciano sent off. Kind of take a point after all that then, Danny?
Yeah, I think when you take everything into account, when you look at, you're away from home, coming to a difficult place away from home, a difficult pitch and terrible conditions, add on top of that you get a man sent off so early on, and I think, most teams would take a draw. I think the frustration comes from the fact that, there was no real onslaught on the Hibs goal. They did look comfortable, and ultimately they were 7 minutes away from what would have been a massive victory.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sort of looking at it from the outside, St Johnstone won, Hibs won, especially on the run of form that Hibs have been on and the run of form that St Johnstone have been on, barring their result last week. Just looking at that at a basic level, you might be disappointed, but I think if you look at the sort of the, I don't know what you call it, kind of extenuating circumstances, for all the reasons that Danny's just mentioned there, it's probably, the Hibs fans who were extremely vocal throughout the game will be going away from that relatively happy with a point. The maybe slightly only frustration is we probably did have enough half decent chances or half chances to maybe grab a second goal even after Marciano is sent off. But at the same time, I think St Johnstone, particularly sort of towards the end of the game, carved out enough kind of at least decent chances that one of them was bound to go in, and it did. And I suppose right at the end we're slightly fortunate that only one of them does.
They seem to leave it late in both halves before trying to take advantage of the extra man. The end of the first half there was a bit of an onslaught, end of the second half there was an onslaught, but that aside, Hibs were pretty comfortable for large patches.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about the Hearts team last week and the sort of defensive outlook that they seem to have, and St Johnstone are a similar team that way, that I think they do play a sort of defensive game, and it is hard to then sort of break out of that shell. And you say that the end of the first half, that there was absolutely no threat on the Hibs goal really until the last 5 minutes of the first half. And again in the second half, I think desperation comes into it when you take a centre half off for a centre forward. You're going to get chances, or if not, you're going to change the momentum of the game. Obviously, as the clock ticks down, the tendency in the Hibs team is to get deeper and deeper as well and preserve the lead. So you're always going to have that sort of bit of momentum shift in the game where you are under pressure. But I think Hibs looked comfortable for large spells, and I didn't feel like they were going to concede, to be honest. Listen, both sides had chances, but there was never really any moments where you thought, oh, we're massively hanging on here. Apart from when the goal goes in, goals change games, and as soon as St Johnstone did break the deadlock, it did become a case of let's get out of here with a point.
I think just before the equaliser went in, there was communication between the stand and the touchline. Stephen Whittaker was getting ready to come on. Presumably the sub did happen. He came on for Scott Allen, but just before it, and it was just that little Murray Davidson got the run because it was tired bodies in the Hibs midfield, understandably so. And would it be harsh to say if the sub had maybe been made that little bit earlier, because Scott Allen was running on empty for a good 5 or 10 minutes before he went off it? Maybe it was preventable, but maybe I'm being a bit harsh.
No, well, I think you're right. I looked down and Hibs had a corner, and or were attacking this end certainly, and Whittaker was called back, and you could see, because of how cold it's been, he was taking all his layers off, which was taking longer than normal, and there was just no break in play to be able to probably make that sub. And listen, in hindsight, it's obviously frustrating and easy to say, if we'd made the sub. But I suppose these are the fine sort of margins that can change the outcome of a match at this level.
And that's the thing, and even the way that St Johnstone do equalise, it's we get 2 or 3 blocks in, and one of them just happens to kind of ricochet through to Chris Kane. And in fairness, it's a good finish because it's not actually sitting at a very comfortable height from the angle we can see, and he actually sort of has to kind of lift himself off the ground to actually finish it. But it is those sort of very fine things. I mean, very fine margins. I mean, I thought today, particularly after Marciano went off, we defended really well. And there was a couple of times where there's a few sort of wayward passes and a couple of headers that were maybe a yard or two short, but I mean, I think you touched on it there, that Scott Allen was running on empty. I don't think I've ever seen Scott Allen work that hard.
No, his engine was fantastic.
Absolutely running himself into the ground. I think that was true for absolutely everybody on the pitch. Everybody was chasing it. I think they understood that it was going to turn into a fight when Marciano went off, which I think is especially impressive considering that's our first red card of the season. So it's not as if this Hibs team's had to cope with that 2 or 3 times. The first time this season, and we're towards the end of March now.
Yeah.
So they dug in. It's slightly disappointing not to come away with all 3 points, but at the same time, you kind of look at it and say, well, actually, point was probably well earned rather than
anything thrown away. Yeah, so taking it right back, with one change, Dylan McGeer out with a knock, so Marvin Bartley comes in. I think given the conditions and the way the match panned out, it was a match tailor-made for Marvin Bartley. But the match kicks off, and within 90 seconds, simple as you like, Hibs get an early corner. It's dealt with, ball goes back to Scott Allen, great cross in, Effie Ambrose, I mean, simple as you like, totally unmarked, 6 yards out, great goal, great celebration.
Yeah, the celebration was fantastic, and the fact that he's run almost the entire length of the pitch to do it, was sort of Benji-esque against Hearts a couple of years ago. It's with slightly more acrobatic ending. Good header by Effie Ambrose. I think it's his first goal since October, I think I'm right in saying, against Celtic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a very similar start to the Kilmarnock game a couple of weeks ago. Started really quickly, get a goal, and we looked sort of very comfortable for that opening period.
Yeah, the game from there kind of ebbed and flowed. A fairly open match in midfield. There was half chances for either side, but the next big talking points in the 14-minute mark, Marciano comes out to deal with a long ball. I've not seen it back, but all the guys around about us in the media area seem to suggest that it was a red card that's come off his midriff and then come off his arms. I'll be honest, from where I was in the stand, it looked like it came off his arms, and the second it came off him, I feared the worst.
Yeah, well, I think obviously it was inconclusive from the distance we were at, but the one thing I would say is, as soon as the referee blows the whistle, there's only one outcome. There was no maybe people thinking, what's he going to do? But as soon as the referee blows the whistle, it's because he's seen a foul, and with the goalkeeper that far out the box, it can only be a red card. Again, I've not seen it back either, but it seems to the opinion seems to be that it did hit his hand, in which case it can have no complaints. It's a red card. Obviously changed the match massively, because as you say, Hibs looked very comfortable up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those where when the ball goes over the top, you could see that something was going to happen. I think it's Ambrose that's on Kane, is it? I need to see it back actually. I might have that wrong.
Kane.
Yeah, it is Ambrose that's on Kane, and the ball kind of drops in that really awkward area between Marciano and Ambrose, but it's not at a distance where one of them can get it. It's right in between the two of them. You knew sort of somebody's going to have to do something. If Marciano doesn't come out and at least try to get it, does Ambrose bring Kane down, in which case he's the last man, and does Ambrose get sent off? Marciano has to come for it. If you're a goalkeeper and coming out of the box, you always run that risk of the ball striking your arm, and I mean, it's one of those things where he just has to sort of get up there and make himself big and block the ball, and he's probably just slightly unfortunate that it has hit his arm and not hit him square in the face or in the chest or anything. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a, like you say, you kind of maybe expected the game to change a lot quicker than it actually did. Because I mean, even after that, St Johnstone didn't have a massive amount of.
No, well, that was the 14th minute. McLaren sacrificed for Cammy Bell, obviously, to come on and make his debut. At that point, Hibs went 4-3-2 for the rest of the first half, which surprised me. But again, we've spoke about this team's ambition before. You can't fault that. Martin Boyle moves up front. Were you expecting Hibs to sort of go 4-4-1 and shape things up straight away, Danny, or were you?
No, I have to be honest, I thought they would go 4-3-2, because I think the good thing about this Hibs team especially is that, you know, we've seen how often they've interchanged between the 4 and the 5, so or the 4 and the 3 with the wing back. So, you know, I think it's a system that we're well comfortable with. And I think the most important thing was that, one, they kept the midfield 3 together, and 2, that they kept 2 up front, because it's very easy to, you know, go 4-4-1, and the one up front, much like Canberra towards the end, has become so isolated. You know, he ran himself into the ground. But I think it maybe sets the wrong message that early in a game. And I know, listen, it's disappointing for McLaren, but I can totally see the logic behind putting Boyle up front. And, you know, his pace causes every team problems, and it did tonight. And it allowed Hibs to not only get up the pitch, but, you know, also look threatening on the counter attack as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's just as I say to James. It was 40 minutes. Marciano gets sent off. It's the 43rd minute before St Johnstone get their first shot on target, the first time they test Bell. In that half an hour, you've already mentioned that Martin Boyle's there for the counter attacks. Anderson gets booked for bringing Boyle down on the counter, and it was the first of many kind of take one for the team's bookings that St Johnstone took, and they took a hell of a gamble, especially Blair Alston in that second half, where they're ripping the Hibs midfields down, and John Beaton didn't seem to really stamp his authority on it.
Yeah, there's a couple of them where you look at them and you think, well, that's probably 50-50 of it being a yellow card or not being a yellow card, and I think it kind of spoke volumes that Blair Alston went off and was replaced by David Witherspoon. And okay, that may have been a tactical substitution that late in the game. Obviously we kind of know the qualities that David Witherspoon has going forward, but at the same time, I mean, Alston was walking a very thin line, because I think does he get booked in the second half? I think it is.
He get booked in the second half.
Yeah.
Cynical one on again, and then he has another one. But I think he was on the one on McGinn. I think was more of a red card than the other one was a second yellow, because it's tackles like that need to be taken out of the game. It's almost the biggest guaranteed yellow card in the game, whether you pull somebody's shirt when they're away, but to lunge and wipe them out. I mean, he's 5 feet from the ball. No, if the ball is at the other end of the pitch and you do that to somebody, you're a red card, and you're facing all sorts of problems. It's one of those tackles that, you know, just it almost seems to just be accepted that, you know, if you foul an opponent in that way, that it's a yellow card, and as you rightly said, you know, taking one for the team. I think the lucky thing for them was that you know, it was a different player was able to take one for the team every time. And the one time that it did look like, you know, I think McGinn got in front of Alston the second time, and you knew he didn't want to make a tackle. McGinn's clever. He sort of slows his run and feels the contact and goes down, and, you know, you can see why Tommy Wright took him off right away, because I think the referee you know, would have had no choice, soft foul or not, if he'd made another one.
Aye, it was you've mentioned it there, that first one that he had. There's taking one for the team, and he can pull McGinn's shirt and bring him back, but that was just malicious intent. He didn't need to go in the way he did, and there's no need to make the referee even have to think about a decision there.
No, I think he done that because he wasn't close enough to grab him. You know, if he was close enough to grab him, I think he would just pull his arm, grab his shirt, whatever. You know, it's the same outcome. But no, I think McGinn had got that far away from him that it was his only option really, was to just side him down like that, and it was so cynical, and just, I mean, absolutely zero effort to play the football, and I think if you do that at any other time, any other place on the pitch when the ball's not in your vicinity, then you'd be more serious punishment.
More reaction with James and Danny shortly, but let's hear the post-match thoughts now of Neil Lennon speaking with Cliff.
Given the way circumstances panned out, was that a good point at the end of the night?
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I can't speak highly enough for the players. They had to play with 10 men. They played great. They played some super football, and they had, under immense provocation, some scandalous challenges. Borderline reckless, and I can't argue with the red card. The referee got that right. But how St Johnstone ended up 11 men on the pitch is beyond me. It was grotesque, some of the stuff that was going on out there today.
It does seem to be a sort of trait that you're repeating week after week. Some people will say it's just sour grapes. That's not how you see it.
No, Cliff, the game's on TV. I've just been in with the press. They've all agreed with me. So the only one who didn't think it was a red card is the referee. And then Murray Davidson's on a second yellow. He catches, I think, either Louis or John McGinn late. A yellow card. That should have been a second yellow. So it should have been 10v10 at least. And my players aren't getting enough protection. They try and play the game what we deem to be the right way. They're brave, they're strong. They were trying to break, counter-attack, and they kept getting fouled. And not just, tripped. These were dangerous tackles. The Ulster one is incredible.
As you say, we tried to play the game the way you want to see the game played, and we got within 7 minutes of taking all 3 points tonight, which would have been, considering we played 75 minutes with 10 men, that would have been a terrific achievement. Over the piece, a point probably isn't a bad result.
No, listen, the players are amazing. My goalkeeper, Cammy, who came on, was outstanding and had to be. And he was brave. My back four, Canberra had a great game. Marvin coming back into the team. The loss of McGee could have been a blow, but when you got a ready-made replacement like Marv, we looked strong, we looked fit, even though we were down to 10 men for long periods of the game on a really difficult pitch, heavy pitch, and difficult circumstances. So I'm really proud of the team tonight, and we keep the run going.
I mean, we got off to a terrific start with Effie scoring, and even sort of an hour into the game, the possession stats were 50-50, considering we were down to 10 men. That speaks volumes for the fitness of the boys and the attitude that you had out there tonight.
Yeah, the attitude of the players was fantastic. They really wanted it, and it's a pity we haven't got the 3 points because we'd be sitting third. But I think the way the game and the way the situations went against us, then we've got to be very satisfied with a point. And we've got 2 games coming up now against teams in the bottom, 3 actually, against teams in the bottom 3, and we have to try and take maximum points to keep the pressure on the teams around us.
Again, looking at the conditions tonight, horrible night to play football, windy, swirling, rain in the air. Again, strength sapping. It does speak volumes for that performance.
Yeah, and we played well. It would have been good to see how we would have been with 11 men, because we started off like a house on fire and we had good control of the game. Delighted with that. And even with 10 men, Canberra had a great chance. Yeah, we had to weather a bit of a storm at times because, fatigue kicks in mentally and physically. And St Johnstone are a decent side, when they actually get the ball down and try and play. But they come here under the circumstances. It's a point gained rather than 2 points lost, I think.
And from your own point of view, obviously you spent the first match of your 3-game hiatus in the stand. It doesn't look like the sort of thing you enjoy. You'd rather be down on the touchline in the dugout by the looks of your performance there in the stand.
Listen, it was a good job I was in the stand tonight, from what I witnessed second half. So I don't enjoy it. It's difficult, and you can't have an influence as much as you like. But I've got good staff here who, set the team out in a strong frame of mind.
As we get to the end of the first half, it takes until the 43rd minute for St Johnstone to get their first shot on goal. It's a great save by Cammy Bell. Straight after that, Liam Craig has a shot from distance, goes just over. Bell then saves well at the feet of Kane, who probably should have done better. He takes a heavy first touch, but Bell stayed down at that point, and you and I panicked. I don't know about you, Danny, on co-coms, but when Cammy Bell stays down, we're having a guessing game for who's going to deputise for him. But I think by the time the half-time whistle goes, it's kind of a welcome relief, James, to hear it.
Yeah, I didn't bring my gloves with me either, so I was a bit worried about that. But no, I
think
mean,
Ambrose was the only one that brought his gloves.
Exactly.
He had to go in.
I think that Effie's probably just up for anything. He'll play anywhere. He'll go up front if you want.
The highlight of that was Darren McGregor put his hands in his head, and it was as if he was just the first one to go. Not me. I'm not doing it. Nah.
It's a difficult situation because, I mean, obviously, Bell gets up and he's fine, for the rest of the game, but there was that sort of brief, maybe 2-minute period where we're all just looking around going, well, what happens now? Like, because it's almost what you would sort of a few years ago call Hibs luck. You kind of feel like our luck's changed a little bit over the past year or couple of years. But this would have been sort of classic patter a couple of years ago, whereas have a goalkeeper sent off, have the other one go down injured on his debut, and have to stick somebody in goal. And all
at a time when you've not got your manager there to make the decision.
Exactly, it was just absolutely mad. But fair play to Cammy Bell. He soldiered on. He did really well, I thought, in his his sort of cameo, and obviously he'll be starting next week, and it's a really good opportunity for him to lay down a claim.
I thought it was great. The first thing, there was a cross, a corner that he missed. That was the first thing. But after that save from Kane, he was really assured. He was coming out claiming balls, some really good saves. And from a kind of player's perspective, Danny, are you ever kind of coached to test a goalkeeper early doors when he comes on unexpectedly during a game?
Yeah, well, maybe not coached. I think that's just sort of one of those unwritten rules. I mean, when Bell did come on, St Johnstone did have a few sort of efforts where you could see they were trying to get shots on goals and they were blocked well. So for that point of view, the Hibs defence obviously were aware of that as well, and try and protect the goalkeeper and let him find his way into the game. And as you said, he made a tremendous save. Before that, he actually took a corner well as well, having missed the first one, which you could see maybe lifted his confidence a little bit. And the save at just before half time was a vital save, and a really good save as well. He can't be blamed for the goal at all. I think he had a decent night all in all.
Second half starts, Hibs go back to that kind of back three, back five. Canberry's all on his own up front, although I'll put a word in for him. I thought first half especially his hold up play was outstanding again. I said to you on Hibs TV at half time last week, James, that how a player like that has become available in the January transfer window for Hibs. We've unearthed a gem. Is it just a case of someone's style of play suiting Scottish football so well in Flo Canberry that he's taken to it so naturally?
It's one of those that's kind of rare things of just being in the right place at the right time. I'm sure Neil Lennon would have been, even after Flo Canberry's first game, would have been absolutely rubbing his hands together at the prospect of seeing him in this team. He is just sort of perfectly suited to our style of play. He gives us physicality, he gives us just maximum effort every single week. The same goes for Jamie McLaren as well. I mean, they both work extremely hard. Today, we talked about sort of players running themselves into the ground. Flo Canberry, I don't know how he was still going towards the end of the game. And yeah, I mean, his hold-up play is very good. He's really good at drawing fouls. He uses his body very well, particularly up against sort of defenders who might not be as quick or as reactive to his movement. I think he's just... It's that sort of classic thing. Is he was possibly one of the pieces of the puzzle that we were just missing earlier in the season, that the strikers we started with this season just didn't give us. Now that we have that, it's fantastic to watch him, and I thought he was very good today. Particularly sort of his hold-up play, but the way he linked up and the way he worked after we went down to 10 men was excellent as well.
And we've got a song that goes to the tune of "In the Jungle, the Mighty Jungle," which is something I've been waiting for months from the Hibs end. So that's going to be his most valuable contribution. So going on from there, I mean, it's the second half. There wasn't a huge amount until the last 10 minutes. It was all kind of niggly. Hibs, we've already said, we're comfortable enough on the ball, but I suppose the weather played a bit of a factor. Really windy. We're used to rain here, but with wind this heavy in games like that, is it a bit of a lottery, Danny, in terms of you're kind of hoping that the ball was going to bounce the right way, or there was a lot of players slipping, especially in the corners tonight?
That was a massive lottery, but you see how many times the ball got kicked out the park. As soon as you try to take the ball off the surface, you're just you're letting the elements take over, really. Said in commentary earlier that this is probably worst condition that you could possibly pick. It's a night game under the floodlights. It's raining and it's windy, and it is the wind that's the biggest issue. And you could tell any time either team took the ball off the deck, it caused problems, and that makes the result sort of that bit more probably satisfying for Neil Lennon. Everything was really sort of, you would maybe say, favoured St Johnstone, to be honest, in terms of their style of play and being at home. So the fact that the Hibs have come here and are potentially disappointed to have only left with 1 point, it says how far the team has come more than anything, and it's certainly another point in the right direction.
I think Danny's just said it all there. I mean, last week we have a Friday night game under the lights and it's perfect conditions for us. It's a full Easter road. It's absolutely buzzing. We go out and play really well and get a deserved 2-0 victory against Hearts. This week it's a total scene change. It's freezing cold. It's bucketing down the rain. It's blustery. It's at a place where we don't have a particularly good record in recent years, or in our recent visits here. It's always going to be a real sort of test of character. I mean, we talked about that last week. It's fine sort of going out and beating Aberdeen and beating Hearts and beating Rangers and turning in really good performances against Celtic, but it's in these games where we have to turn up and put in a performance, and I felt we did today. And that's all credit to I think the 11 players that took the pitch and the ones that came on as well.
Yeah, I think it typified Hibs' energy levels and performance tonight that we've spoke before with the games that Scott Allan's played for. He's got a reputation as maybe this sort of luxury player, but I mean, no one burst their gut more in the middle of that park than Scott Allan today. He was chasing everything maybe, but when a pass wasn't coming off, he was tracking the man back in the counter-attack, and that shows that these guys that have just come in January, they've only been here a couple of months, but the team bond is really something quite strong at Easter Road just now.
Yeah, I think, being totally honest, I think using Scott Allan as an example, that comes from the manager, because Scott Allan doesn't notoriously do that. So you're not telling me it's it's just he's changed his tune or whatever. I think a lot of that comes from the touchline, because he knows if he doesn't do that, he's not going to play. I don't think Neil Lennon is the type of manager that would put up with anything less than players running themselves into the ground and giving 100%. We're all sitting here sort of shocked in a nice way at how much of a shift Scott Allan put in, but that's, especially tonight, going down to 10 men was vital. And I think not just Scott Allan but every player out there knows that that's the minimum that they can get away with if they want to be in the manager's plans. You spoke about Canberra, McLaren coming in. I mean, we spoke last week about how maybe they were not as individually gifted as some of the players that have been before, but the benefit to the team of what their qualities bring is the most important thing. And it's clear that that is what Neil Lennon sees as vital. It's the team that comes first, and the players he's brought in, as well as how he's developed the team, has been massively positive.
I think it's important as well, guys like Lewis Stevenson and Paul Hanlon, who've played with Scott Allan before and who know exactly what he can bring to the team. I'm sure they would have been delighted to see him back. It's kind of making their job easier further up the pitch. Like you say, Scott Allan's kind of known for not sort of having the kind of stamina maybe that other players do. Tonight I thought he was fantastic. Like you say, he chased everything. He worked hard. He was encouraging other players when he wasn't on the ball, and he was excellent tonight. Obviously, I think it was kind of needs must when he goes off the pitch. But yeah, I mean, it's another week, and it's another week that we're raving about Scott Allan's performance. And last week it was him chipping in with a goal, and this week it's him setting up Effie Ambrose and working his socks off to ensure we get at least a point from this.
Yeah, and we've already discussed the Saints equaliser, but you discussed coming away with a point with, I don't know about anybody else, but it was heart and mouth stuff with Tanser's free kick right at the end. Great effort off the bar, but again, another huge amount of credit to Cammy Bell. He reacts really quickly to jump on top of that loose ball, and at that point the final whistle goes. But Cammy Bell, but we should start giving keepers their debuts mid-season more often, because they just become great stories in the end.
I think that maybe a bit of luck off the crossbar at the end is what the team earned from the work they put into the game. It would have been a travesty if they came away with nothing.
Yeah.
you know, it's a good free kick, and there was 2 or 3 St Johnstone players following it in. It could have fell anywhere, and it was an open goal, but it's fell kindly. And no, it was a break Hibs deserved. Like I say, it would have been you know, scandalous for them to come away with nothing. And you know, you've got to look at it as a point in the right direction, and you know, a good sign that the team can come away on a night like this and, you know, grind out a point.
It's one of those horrible moments where, as a fan, you know, I'm sure it was the same in the away end, but particularly from our angle, you see the ball come back off the bar, and then there's all these bodies just rushing, and you have no idea where the ball is. And it is that kind of heart and mouth moment where you think, oh, please somebody just grab this. But yeah, I mean, you know, Cammy does really well. I mean, he's a very experienced goalkeeper in Scotland. I mean, he's probably, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but he's played over 100 top flight games at the very least, and you know, he knows what he's doing. It's obviously I think possibly a different spell of his career than he's used to, being backup rather than number one. I think he's probably, you know, for the majority of his career being used to being in that number one spot. But he gave a very good account of himself when he came on. A couple of really important saves, and you know, showed that he was well up for the fight and getting back up and playing on. So yeah, I mean, every reason to be encouraged by his performance.
And now let's hear from Hibs goalkeeper Cammy Bell.
A bit of a baptism of fire for you tonight. They're coming on in place of Ophir when he was red carded.
Yeah, obviously it was a bit unexpected, and so early in the game as well. So. But I mean, obviously we prepare as goalies in our warm-up that you do a good warm-up and you're prepared for the game. So, but it's obviously difficult circumstances coming on in a game like this here in Perth, and the weather the way it is. It's difficult for a goalkeeper. But no, I enjoyed it. Obviously, getting on the pitch, that's what I came to Hibs for, was to play games. I knew it was going to be hard because Ophir's been one of the best goalies in the league, if not the best, I would say, at the moment. So, unfortunate for him, but good for me.
5 minutes or so into your spell there, you had a decent save to your left hand side. That's always nice for your confidence, just to get one like that behind you.
Yeah, it always is, especially, as I say, coming on as a sub for a goalkeeper is not ideal. It's difficult to get up to speed with the game, and you know the opposition are going to put you under a bit of pressure. So no, it was good. It was good to get an early save, a good cross, and get myself into the game. But no, I mean, I'm well experienced in the game, so I was prepared for the situation, and I really enjoyed the game as well.
I was going to say, obviously you've been Kilmarnock, Dundee United, Rangers, you've played a lot of big clubs. You know, coming into a game like this, it should be second nature to you, but as you say, the circumstances, the weather, you know, I know you say you warm up, but you've been sitting on the bench there for 15 minutes doing nothing. What's going through your head when you're called into action in that sort of circumstance?
It's just about getting your concentration right, getting your head right, and getting up to speed with the game as soon as you can. Obviously it's difficult, it's a cold night here, a wet and windy night, which is difficult for goalkeepers again. Pitch is heavy, so circumstances could have been easier for myself, but no, as I say, you take it when it comes and you take the opportunity, and disappointed that we lost a goal so late on, but I think a point in the circumstances today is a good point for us, and it keeps our run going at the moment. So disappointed with a late goal, but we need to take the positives out of the game, that we had some good opportunities and played some good football today as well.
It speaks volumes for the character of the squad that, you know, you got within 7 minutes of actually taking all 3 points. It was a tough examination, and again it sent down a marker to the sides around about us that we're not going to be pushed over in any way, shape or form.
No, we can handle the physical side of the game as well, and I think that's what St Johnstone are kind of all about, is a physical game. We knew that before the game. The weather probably suited them a bit more than it does us. But no, we can definitely stand up and be counted for when we need to, and I think we did that in most of the game. We obviously had chances, but I mean, overall I think we defended well, and it's always difficult to defend for so long with 10 men. I think it's a really tough ask, especially away from home, so I think the boys have got to look and think it was a good point. Obviously it would have been great to take the 3 points, but in circumstances I think it's a really good point for us.
And from your own point of view, obviously an opportunity now, you'll get the start against Partick Thistle in the next game because Ophir will be banned. It's a chance for you to show the manager what you're capable of, and maybe look ahead towards things like next season, extend your stay, and give Ophir a real battle for that jersey.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I came here. I think the manager's seen me play over the years. I think he said that to the press when I've when I first signed for the club. Played against these teams many a times, and no, he knows what I'm all about, and hopefully I can bring stability to the back four in the next game, and hopefully we can go and get the victory that we need. We need to be picking up points all the time, and hopefully that's what happened against Partick Thistle. We know it'll be another difficult match, but we'll all be looking forward to it. We've got a little break at the moment and recharge the batteries and then get straight back into hard training, and hopefully we can continue our form on into the split and beyond that as well.
From your point of view as a player, there seem to have been a lot of breaks this season, you know, whether it's been for internationals or whatever, the winter break obviously and amongst there as well. Are these wee breaks something players look forward to, or would you rather just be playing week in, week out?
Well, obviously just getting in the team, I'd rather be playing next weekend, but I mean, no, I think at this time of the season it's good for some lads because they've played a lot of football over the season, maybe carrying a couple of knocks. It gives teams opportunities to rest and try and get over little niggles at this point of the season. So no, it has been a bit stop-start since Christmas, to be honest, but I mean, I think this will be a good break for us. I think we can get a couple of boys who've got a little niggles and injuries, and hopefully we can get everyone back to full fitness and hit the ground running towards the end of the season.
Next up's Partick Thistle Easter Road on the 31st. We obviously know Marciano's missing for that. John McGinn will also be missing. His booking tonight means he gets a 2-match ban, so I believe he'll miss Hamilton Accies at home after the Thistle game. There's no good matches to be suspended for, but Partick Thistle at home and Hamilton Accies at home, if you could probably pick anything for John McGinn to miss, provided Dylan McGeo's back and fit, then not the worst matches in the world, you would hope.
No, they're not. And I mean, I suppose you can kind of look at it two ways, in that Partick Thistle and Hamilton are two teams that we should certainly be beating on paper, with or without John McGinn. At the same time, you know, at this stage of the season, they're two sides that are going to be scrapping and fighting for their lives at the bottom of the table. And we've already seen, you know, St Johnstone today show a bit of resilience after quite a difficult run of form, sort of down that end of the table as well. So, I mean, you're right, you know, there are no easy games in this league, you know, no matter kind of what people might sort of think looking at the games on paper, but you know, I think we should have enough strength and depth in the squad to be able to go through that 180 minutes without John McGinn in it. And you're probably right in saying, you know, if you were to pick two home games against two of the sides towards the bottom of the table, you know, you can't really ask for more than that. And hopefully getting back for the winning. Maybe
Dundee based on their performance against St Johnstone last week, but we can't be too picky, I suppose. So that'll do us for this week's episode. Subscribe now to Radio Hibs through SoundCloud or iTunes to ensure you never miss a show. We're also now on YouTube. If you want to follow Hibs TV there, you'll get a notification for that. Extended highlights from Saturday are now available, and indeed from all this season's other games, as well as a huge archive of other classics all on Hibs TV. No game next week due to the international break, but following that it's Partick Thistle at Easter Road. Tickets are now available online and from the ticket office, with the match being broadcast live on Hibs TV for international subscribers. Until then, my thanks to Danny Galbraith and James Delaney for joining me. Thank you for listening, enjoy the break next week, and join us again next time for the aftermath from the Thistle game.